The BS Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects.
First of all,
this is the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
It might be cool, I don't know. And if it's not, I don't care.
The BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons works for ESPN. He's also named the sports guy, and he writes a comical sports column. He must be a popular dude.
The BS Report.
It's got a real dirty sound, like a rusty steak knife cutting through a well-aged steak.
Now.
Here's Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the BS Report, day after the Oscars, and day after a very exciting Knicks win in Miami. The Knicks look like they're back, so who better to have on the BS Report, the Subway Fresh Take Hotline, than the greatest living screenwriter, as well as one of the greatest living Knicks fans, Bill Goldman. What's happening?
Well, it was I'm speechless. I thought we had, after losing horrifically to Cleveland, there was no way we were going to beat the Heat, and then we did, and I just sat there staring at those last couple of minutes thinking, oh my God, are we really going to be any good? And who knows? I have no idea what we're going to do. We have Dwight Howard. One of the problems the Knicks have, I don't think anybody listening cares about this, but we're tiny. Yeah. We're very small. We don't have anybody. We're arguably the smallest team in the league. So when there's a big center like we have coming up with Orlando, he will go mad, I think, but we'll see. I thought the Oscars, the only problem I thought with the Oscars was, I love the Oscars show, and I never miss them, and I always think they're too short. Now, the problem with them is they can't really, it's very hard if you work on that show and you want to get these people to come on. They don't want to. Most stars is a pain in the butt going to the Oscars. They don't want to do it. And, and so you end up having Kirk Douglas, who I'm a great fan of, but 40 years ago.
Right.
And, and then I thought that Melissa Leo, who I thought was so wonderful in the movie, just really gave a disgusting speech. And I really thought she's wonderful, but it was, you don't swear like, you're not supposed to swear like that on national TV. Come on.
Well, and also, she was the odds-on favorite.
Yeah, the only problem with the whole Oscar show, really, there were almost no surprises. Everything that was supposed to happen, the guy did not win Best Director for the Facebook show, and he was supposed to, but it went to the kid who did...
Tom Hooper,
and he had a wonderful story about his mother. That was one of the top stories of, when he said his mother went to a play and called him up and said, I've got your next movie.
Right.
And I loved the guy who is even younger than I am, who won for King's Speech. He gave a wonderful speech. I don't know, the Academy Awards are always what they are. And I happen to think they're too short. I think they're fun. I think they're humiliating. I worked on it one year, and it was an amazing year because Charlton Heston, no longer with us, was the head of the Academy, and he was the speaker, etc. And he was one of those amazingly prompt people, and he was late. And I was standing there when the producer went over to Mr. Eastwood and said, would you take over for Chuck? And he said, sure. So we went up and started reading lines of dialogue, and they were Moses jokes because they had been written for Heston.
Oh, no.
And finally, Heston came raging in his tuxedo. He'd gotten a flat tire on the freeway. Now, this is such a Los Angeles thing. He'd gotten a flat tire on the freeway, and no one would stop to pick him up.
Pick up Charlton Heston?
Charlton Heston in a tuxedo on the freeway at like 4 o'clock, and no one picked him up. And finally, maybe it was 3 o'clock. It was a beautiful afternoon. Finally, someone took him to the Academy, and he came on. But that was maybe the high point. I mean, that's such a great Los Angeles story, because how many people are going to be wearing tuxedos in the F? Maybe a lot of people do, I don't know. But Heston did, and nobody picked him up. And Eastwood doing Moses jokes. I'll bet you if you asked Eastwood now, he would remember doing Moses jokes.
When you won in 1970 for Butch Cassidy.
Yes, but I didn't.
But you couldn't go.
Well, I could have gone. I didn't go because the Knicks were in the playoffs.
What?
Oh yeah, it was the first championship year, and I was a friend of the late, very great Dave DeBusschere, and we were playing for the championship. The Knicks had always stunk, and there was no way I was going to... Anyways, a long, long time ago, and it was not that easy to get to Los Angeles. There weren't that many planes, blah, 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 and I couldn't miss a Knicks game, so I didn't go.
That is... I have never heard that story.
Oh, yeah.
And that is one of the great sports
and I would
stories
do it,
I've ever heard.
I would do it again.
Do you remember what game it was?
It was... No, I don't know.
So it was definitely the finals. So the Oscars must have been later back then.
I
The
think
finals
so.
were earlier. They were
It
like
might
in
have
May.
been. It might have been a semi. It was. That was such a great team, and I fell in love with them. And there was no way. There was no way I was going to miss a Knicks championship game.
But then you won for All the President's Men.
Yes,
You were
I
at
went
that
out
one.
for that, and
Yeah.
worked.
So what's it like to win? What happens?
Well, I remember. If you ever saw the movie, one of the great things that, okay, when you're working in a film, in a flick, okay, there are about 6 of us who are very important to the movie. Obviously, the director, the producer, the writer, but very, very important is the cinematographer. And Conrad Hall, no longer with us, alas, he did Butch Cassidy. And if you ever saw that movie, there's a scene on a bicycle where Paul Newman is riding Kathleen Ross around, and it's so beautiful. That's because Connie was such a great cinematographer, and I'm getting to the point, like the Deep Throat scenes and All the President's Men were fabulous looking because Connie shot them so brilliantly. And I think I basically said something like that I would never have been up there without Conrad Hall and got the hell off, because I hate long speeches. I hate it when people start blabbing on about their mother and their aunt and all that. We don't care.
Right.
And you know, the show, were there any terrific speeches last night? I can't think of any.
No, actually, Tom Hooper's speech was pretty good.
Yeah, Tom Hooper's speech was swell, and I love the guy who's younger than I am who won the script for that and had some funny jokes about age.
It seems like the British are always prepared when they have to speak.
Well, it may be. It's one of those things where the odd thing about the Oscars last night is there really weren't any upsets. I mean, except for the director thing. I mean, King's speech was supposed to win what they won, and I thought Inception was going to win all the big moments, and I thought
It didn't even get nominated for some of them.
Yeah, it didn't.
Yeah.
And I prayed that Aaron Sorkin would win for script because it was such a brilliant script for Facebook. And
now, when you saw that movie, obviously you're from a different generation. Did the whole Facebook thing, did you even know that much about it when you saw it? Were you learning on the fly?
I've never seen Facebook. I've never Twinkied and I've never Facebooked. I don't do that. And I mean, I Google. I look up stuff on Google all the time, but I mean, no, I don't. And I just thought, I had no idea how much was true or not true. I just thought it was a sensational movie. And I thought that opening scene of the boy and the girl in the bar in Boston, it was just Aaron Sorkin. Only Aaron Sorkin could write that.
Well, at least he got rewarded, but Fincher
got screwed.
Over. Yeah.
I thought he did. I mean, Hooper did a hell of a job, but Fincher, he was the only upset, I think. Isn't that right? Was there anybody else? I mean, there was a chance. Somebody said something interesting to me. Warren Beatty is having one of the bizarre great film career. And I don't think Beatty's done a movie in 10 years. And he was a giant, giant star. And somebody said if it had been 10 years ago, he might have been able to hustle the award for his wife, Best Actress.
Oh, yeah.
But she, it was really, I thought Portman was brilliant and is insanely beautiful and smart and gave a lovely speech. I thought she was swell, and and I was glad she won. I thought it was remarkable work.
I think the Annette Bening, people seem to think that was going to be the upset because, everybody thinks the Academy is a bunch of old farts and that Black Swan might have been a little too weird for them.
Yes.
And that maybe but I guess Kids Are All Right wasn't exactly a normal movie either.
No, I thought it was swell. I thought it was a really nice movie. I don't know. I thought most of the movies up this year were really quality flicks, and one of the things that's wonderful about them is that they're doing business. It's the first time that I can remember that the films that are up, the quality films that are up for the Oscars, I mean, The Fighter's done business, and Black Swan's done business, and Speeches, you know, they've all, and that's wonderful, because last year, the wonderful movie, I'm blocked on the name, the wonderful woman who directed it,
Cameron's ex-wife, Catherine Bigelow. Yeah.
I mean, it did no business. It didn't, I think it did $17 million.
The Hurt Locker.
Yeah, nobody went to see it. And I think the Oscars helped it, but this year, for reasons I don't know, an awful lot of people have been going to quality flicks. And not all of them are doing business, but it's surprising that any of them do.
Well, you used to write one of my favorite columns of all time that is now alive in 2 books. But you wrote for New York Magazine, you'd write basically these big picture pieces about the movie business, where it's going. You know, you split it up so you'd have a column in the spring before the summer movies, then a column in the fall before the Oscar movies were coming out. Right. And then, and a big part of those columns was trying to figure out from a big picture standpoint, where are things going? And it seems like
one of the things that's interesting, I'm interrupting you, but one of the things that's interesting today, right now, as we speak, I think there's only one star, and that's never happened in the history of sound. I think Will Smith is the only movie star left.
Wow.
By which I mean, what they say out there, the executives, about a movie is, did it open? That means, did the first weekend do terrific business? Because that's the crucial thing for a movie. And it used to be that John Wayne was a star, and Tyrone Power, and Mickey Rooney, and Fred. You know, we have a thing, this is true, I think, right now. You could argue that the 2 greatest stars that ever lived, Fred Astaire and John Wayne, would be unemployable. There hasn't been a movie that you would have wanted John Wayne for since the Eastwood Western, I think, in '93, and they don't make musicals anymore.
Right.
So what was Astaire going to do? And we had a time back in the 30s and 40s and 50s when we had loads of movie stars. And right now, we have Will Smith. Will Smith is the only one, I think.
You wouldn't put DiCaprio in there.
No, you look at some of the movies he's done, they don't open. I mean, sure, he's had some huge hits, but so is De Niro. But they have turds. So is Pacino. They're brilliant actors. But they'll have movies that tank. So you can say if it's a certain, like if the next Faulkner movie that comes out, you can say, oh, there's an audience for De Niro. There isn't.
Right.
But that's different. I mean, it used to be, I used to write years ago, who's the biggest star? And was it Tom Cruise, or was it this one or that one? And now, I mean, there are no women. There are no women you'd say, oh my God, if we could just get Julia Roberts. There are performers I love, but I don't think there are any women out there that are going to open pictures. I really don't.
You're saying every time Will Smith opens a movie, no matter what it is, it's going to do well, and that's what gives him the pole position.
Yes, I think what happens is, if you go over and check Will Smith's movies over the last 10 years, they may not do tremendous business overall, but if you'll check them, they all open.
Right.
There's an audience for Will Smith, and that's why it doesn't matter what he does. That's why Will Smith, I think right now, and this has never happened before, the only star. I mean, when you think, I saw the first True Grit recently, and John Wayne, for someone of my generation, was a huge movie star. You knew he couldn't act well. Maybe he couldn't do Shakespeare, but he could walk and he could talk and all that stuff. And then, think about it. What movies are out there now that you would say, oh, John Wayne was great in The Kids Are All Right? I don't think so.
I mean, maybe he'd probably be the dad from Meet the Fockers. He'd probably be
he
going
might
against
do that,
type.
But that's not. that's not the kind of movie that John Wayne used to do. John Wayne used to be, that was the guy you went to see. But there were a lot of them. There were a lot of guys who were Jimmy Cagney. I mean, Bogart, one of my heroes, didn't become a star till very late. I think he was 34 or 5 before he got lucky. And he only got lucky, I think, because George Raft kept being stupid.
Right.
But
so he was kind of the Clooney path.
That's right.
The late bloomer path.
It's really true. It's one of those things. One of the things that happens out there, this is a theory of mine, the two best stars I've ever worked with in 90 years of movie work are Paul Newman and Clint Eastwood. And my theory about them is the reason they're so terrific and professional is because they didn't make it when they were kids. I mean, if you're a movie star and all of a sudden you're 22 years old and everybody wants to you, it destroys you.
Right.
And Eastwood, I think, was 27 or 8 before he got rawhide. And Newman, I think, only got his break because there was Jimmy Dean stepped out of some movie. And Newman, I think, 27 or 8 got it. And I ran that theory by a man who I met, a lovely man named George Clooney. And I ran my theory past him, and he said, oh, God, yes, if I'd made it when I was 23, I'd be dead now. And Clooney didn't make it till he was in the wonderful medical TV show when he was 32 years old.
Yeah.
And I think with a lot of these kids out there, when they make it when they're young, it's not necessarily a good thing.
Would you apply that theory to basketball players? Because
Well,
you could argue LeBron James making it at 18 might not have been the greatest thing that ever could happen to him.
Well, I think he's a very, very great player, but I mean, Larry Brown, who I know some, said that the two most physical athletes he'd ever seen in basketball were Wilt and LeBron.
Really?
And LeBron Wilt was freakish.
Yeah.
He could do he could just do things nobody else has ever been able to do. But LeBron's amazing. I don't know why the Heat aren't better. Do you?
Now, hold this thought, because I want one more movie thing, and then we'll move to this.
Go.
Just heading in 2011, you pointed out these dramas are now making money.
Yes.
And we could list 7, 8, 9 movies that did a lot better than I think the studios thought. Are we headed toward maybe more of those in 3D movies and maybe some slapstick comedies, and those are the 3 movies that come out now?
It's going to be interesting because you got to understand something about studio heads. They're really smart, and they also know that if they screw up enough times, they're going to get fired, and they won't be able to get into all the good restaurants.
That sounds like basketball GMs.
Well, it's true, but they want desperately, the studio heads, they want to make movies that will keep them in business next year and the year after. I don't think, Bill, nobody thought some of these movies were going to do the kind of business they're doing. I mean, they're commercially successful.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful thing. If you can have a picture that's up for the Oscars that's making you money, that's heaven. And that doesn't happen much. And I think next year, not next year, but the year after, because it depends what scripts they're going to get. I think they'll make more movies like this, and hopefully they'll continue to do business. I don't know.
Here's my theory. I think, as we've talked about, not on the podcast, but TV over the last 10 years has kind of overtaken movies a little bit as the place that you go if you want to get really quality acting, quality writing.
Yes.
And now maybe some of these movies that are being made now are almost a reflection of that. Is that possible?
It is possible. I mean, Jesus, if you look at the one thing I think is really stupid is the notion that we have to have 10 pictures up for Best Picture.
Yeah, it should be like
instead
7.
of 5. It's ridiculous. But
Yeah,
if you could have made a list of those 5 and say, wait a minute, those are really quality pictures. I mean, I haven't seen Toy Story. I hear it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just go on, and it's a huge hit, but that you kind of expect. But these other movies, it's wonderful that I thought The Fighter was when I went to the movie theater and I sat there, I didn't think it was going to be that terrific. And then suddenly my head was taken off. I mean, I love Amy Adams. I thought Melissa Leo. I thought Wahlberg was marvelous. I thought, it was a marvelous movie. And it's doing business, and it's a boxing movie, for Christ's sake. And I was thrilled. There was a movie that got screwed, I think. Ben Affleck wrote and directed and started a movie called The Town.
Right.
It's a terrific flick, and it's did business. And I wish it had been one of the 10 movies that got nominated.
But I'm glad you brought him up, because let's solve the urban legend right now about you and Good Will Hunting.
Yes. Did I write it? Yes, it's all my idea. No! Everybody, it was this nutty thing that happened because those two kids were about 11. They were 20-something. And they were, gorgeous and talented. And no one wanted to believe that they'd written that script.
Right.
And so I spent a day with them in which I said what Rob Reiner had said to them, because Castlerock was going to do the movie, but that went south. I did nothing, but I was so staggered when the gossip came out that I had written the thing. The only sad thing about that story is I wish they'd write another movie, because they're really gifted. I mean, they're having marvelous careers, and I wish they'd write again.
Well, you did tell them, you gave them one note that I think they used, correct?
Well, there was in the original script, the Matt Damon part, the FBI was after him because he was a math genius or something. And Rob Reiner, when he read it, said, get rid of that. And all I said to them was, Rob's right, get rid of that stupid business with the FBI and stay with the characters up in Boston. And They did, and it was a marvelous success, and their careers have exploded since then. I mean, Affleck, after this year, I think he's safe forever. Because
you love when people come back. You think when you have the initial success, then the precipitous drop, and then the comeback, you're golden after that.
Well, I think The Town was such a terrific movie. He's so good in Company Men, which is another terrific movie. I just think whatever it was that they did that was dumb, whatever those movies he did with Jennifer Lopez or whatever,
yeah,
can't do that anymore. You know what I mean? I mean, he's going to be. I think everybody wants to have him direct for them. I would if I was a studio guy. And I think there are a lot of people out there who are going to want Ben Affleck, and I bet he has a movie this next coming year.
So you had like about a 10, 12-year stretch when everybody used to come to you with their scripts. Please help me out. Give us one idea. I mean, basically called rewrites. You could either rewrite them or just suggest. That sounds like the greatest job ever.
Well, it was fun. There was a period of time. I got very lucky because my first movie was a Paul Newman picture called Harper, which was a success, and my second movie was Butch Cassidy, the Western, which is the most successful thing I'll ever be connected with. And I was a novelist. The only thing that's different about me is I never saw a script till I was 33 years old. Now, screenwriters are retiring before they're 33.
Wow.
But I was so far out of it that when I got screenplays, I thought, because I'd been a novelist for 10 years. And it was a different world for me, and it was interesting. And then basically, I've written a lot of movies over the decades. But I think right now I would not be very happy if I was 25 years old and starting out today. I think it's a hard time to be a screenwriter. I think it's difficult, Bill. Christ, I don't know. I mean, I don't think anybody. I mean, there are certain things I can't write. I've never written a George Lucas film. I couldn't do that. I can't write that science fiction. I've never written a flat-out comedy. I'm not funny. There are occasionally laughs and something I'll write, but it's not like the comedies that are coming out now.
Yeah.
But we're going to see what happens. It could be that this year was a freak year, and it could be that this year was the start of a bunch of quality films coming out.
Two things that you've always written about that I feel obligated to mention. One is that it drives you crazy that we don't know the votes for the movies and how much the movies won by or how much the actors won by. God forbid they ever told us.
I don't know why they don't. I've written it, and I really believe it. Why don't they tell us, it was close for this guy. I would love to know that. And I don't even care if they tell us today. They could tell us in 6 months.
Well,
and I would say,
they could unseal it. They could unseal it like the JFK assassination documents.
Yeah, they could
50 years later.
Yeah, absolutely. I would just like to know that. I think most people would.
Yeah. And then the other thing, and you point this out repeatedly, is that comedies just get screwed over by the Oscars, when in fact a movie like There's Something About Mary is much harder to make than some of the dramas that we saw nominated this year.
You're absolutely right. I don't know why I think people somehow think that comedy's easy. Let's write something funny. And it's so hard. The idea of writing something funny is just, it's amazing. And the actors are hard to find. It's hard to be funny.
Yeah.
All that stuff. It's hard to write funny.
And then, you look at the Farrelly brothers, they basically had a 10-year drought.
Yeah.
And now it looks like Hall Pass is going to do well, but
I'm hopeful for them.
It comes and it goes.
It does.
Let's go quickly to your beloved Knicks.
Yes.
Now, 5 years ago, your seats are under the basket.
Yes.
You've had them forever.
Yes.
5 years ago, you nearly got trampled in the Carmelo Anthony, Marty Collins, Nate Robinson, that whole disaster, and now he's on your team.
Now he's on the team. And what I don't know is, I think you've been to New York. It's a hard place to work. I mean, I don't mean it's not hard to work in Denver, but you don't have all the newspapers and all the TV guys and all the 24-hour stuff going on. And if he has a bad game, it's going to be headlines in the sports sections of the papers, et cetera, et cetera. And right now there's stuff about his wife, how wonderful she is, and she's got her TV shows, et cetera. But what if he starts thinking it up? I don't think he will. But I mean...
You worried that he's too sensitive?
I just think it's very hard if you're not used to playing in New York City, to play in New York City, because the media here is so tough. It's just hard.
But on the flip side, the fans are great. The fans are going to bring if it's in you, the fans are going to bring it out.
Oh yeah, you got to understand the game, the other game, the first game at home when we won, the first Carmelo game. It was the most exciting. I've been going since the '60s. It was the most exciting time since Sprewell left us.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, the crowd was crazy, and I'm very excited because Wednesday is another home game, and I want to see how we do. I mean, no one expected us to win this game last night, and we play Dwight Howard tomorrow night, and that's scary. And then we have, I don't know, it's fascinating because, yes, they are crazy Knicks fans, and they love it, and we've been so awful. We've been so awful for 10 years. And
excruciatingly awful.
Yes, we've been one of the worst sports franchises in the history of world sport.
Tortured.
Yes, terrible.
You have an owner that you don't even know what to do with, and then you have the Isaiah 4-year, 5-year reign, whatever that was.
Oh, God.
Has to rank among the worst ever.
I mean, if you would talk to anybody that's a Knick nut, and you would say, I hear Isaiah's coming back, they would pale and scream, oh, God, no, please, no.
Right.
And the fact is, I think he's coming back. I think Dolan will do that and get rid of, our wonderful...
Donnie Walsh.
Donnie Walsh, we shouldn't. Think what Donnie Walsh did in 2+ years. I mean, Jesus.
Well, and also, you fell into Amari, and I don't know how long his knees are going to last, but the one thing we can agree on is that he's perfect for New York.
Oh,
he really
God.
does think he's a super duper duper star, and he carries himself that way, and it actually, in a weird way, works.
Yes, he's been fabulous here. He really has, and we'll see. We don't know. I mean, Christ. I mean, nobody mentioned Chauncey Billups.
I know. I did.
I know, but he's a terrific player.
It was so funny hearing the Knicks fans say, "Oh, we're giving up 3 starters," and it's like, yeah, but you're getting the 2 best players in the trade. You realize, like, I mean, he's not going to be the best player in the trade 4 years from now, but for these 2 years, you only had Felton signed through 2012. He's either as good as Felton or better. And actually, I think it's kind of made him mad that he was an afterthought. He's playing, to me, with a little attitude.
Oh, God, he's just been wonderful. Christ. And the fact is, one of the crazy things about age with jocks now is Steve Nash is just still great. And what is he, 37?
Yeah, and all the dieting, the training.
All of this, these guys all work out. And I don't know how long Billups is good for, but he looks to me as good as he did when he won the championship for Detroit.
Yeah.
He just looks sensational.
He's a step slow in defense now. But
yeah, that may
everything
be.
else is there.
But, I mean, he can make the shot. He can make the pass. I don't know. We'll see. It's one of these things where, I mean, you're a Clipper nut. And
I'm a Celtics fan. I mean, I've been
I know, and I'm scared to death about the Celtics because they've got a lot of players on that team that I think I'm crazy about.
Well, I do wonder if part of the reason they made the Jeff Green Perkins trade was because of this Carmelo thing. Whether, I just think Danny looked at the landscape and the possibility that they'd have to go through Carmelo and LeBron in round 1 and round 2, or round 2 and round 3, whatever. And
right.
Paul Pierce was the only guy in the team we had to guard him. Paul Pierce can't handle LeBron for 7 games. Like, he's too old. He gets worn out.
Yeah.
So, and then I look at what the Knicks did, and this is why I was such a big proponent for the trade. You saw it last night. You need 3 guys to really compete in the NBA. And those 3 guys that they have, as crazy as it sounds, can go toe-to-toe with those Miami guys. They might not be better, but they're not going to be afraid of them.
No, and the other thing you have to know, he didn't have a good game last night, but Landry Fields is a terrific rookie.
Yeah, he was a little overwhelmed last night.
I think he was, but I mean, he was at Stanford 6 months ago.
Right.
And he's just wonderful. He's very smart, and he can play defense and all that stuff.
Williams isn't terrible.
No.
He's a legitimate player, I think.
Yeah, no. It's an interesting team. I can't wait to go on Wednesday.
You need you're going to get at least one buyout guy, I'm guessing. Probably 2. And, I look at Bill Walker was playing last night. That's where you're going to get into trouble. You need to upgrade that spot, and I think you need one more big body.
Yes. Oh, God, if we could find my dream back Marcus Camby, who was just, who I loved when we had him, and we rid of him, and I know he's old, but he doesn't have to score. I think he was still second in the league in rebounds, and he can block shots.
Well, I don't think you can't get him this year, but you might be able to get like a Joel Prisbilla.
Something. I'll take anybody who's more than 2 feet tall.
I mean,
we're small.
I know. Well, I also think Jason Capono is going to get bought out, and that's a guy that on this Knicks team could be pretty interesting. Because you had that Landry Field spot, which was open last night. He was missing him. But there's that spot in the corner for the guy to just shoot wide open threes.
Yes.
Capono makes threes. So I think you need that guy, and you need the body. And you can get both. And as I emailed you, I don't want to play the Knicks in a playoff series now. I know the Celtics have a better team, but you never want to play a team in a series when the other team might have the hot guy or the best guy.
Yeah, that's true. The team that I think is really shocking everybody is Chicago.
Yeah.
Because nobody thought they would be this good, and I think they're legitimately that good.
I thought they were going to be this good if they were healthy, but the fact that they've been this good and not been healthy is amazing.
And now they're back. I mean, I think it's going to, I love basketball. I hate it. You love it, I'm sure, when the Celtics won 11 out of 13.
Right.
And everybody died. But it's fun when there's when you don't know.
Yeah. Who's your favorite to see now? Because, I mean, you have great seats. You've been going forever. Who is the guy that you mark on the calendar and you go, that guy's coming to town tonight?
Oh, don't laugh. LeBron.
I'm not laughing.
I think LeBron is just a fabulous. It's funny. One of the things that's very strange, a lot of guys play very well in the Garden. Because they've heard it's New York, they know about the Garden. LeBron has been killing me in the Garden, and Carmelo's been good in the Garden.
Yeah, it has a tendency to bring out whatever best you have.
Yeah.
The right kind of player. And on the other way, it could push you the other way, too, if you're not quite ready for that spotlight and that energy.
We'll see. I don't know. It's fascinating. It really is. One of the things about if you're a sports nut is nobody knows.
So it sounds like the movie business.
Well, I wrote a line once before anybody was born about the movies that nobody knows anything. No one has the least idea what's going to do business. And in sports, no one has the least idea what team is going to gel. I mean, is Carmelo going to be happy with Amar? All like that. And I think picking up Chauncey was a huge plus.
I like, the one thing they have going for them, and, Carmelo is famously not that great of a defensive player.
Right.
Amari is famously not that great of a defensive player.
Correct.
But I think when you're undermanned and you're basically going back to your pure basketball instincts, and it's like, all right, we have these holes here, and there, but this is it. This is our team. We got to do this. You saw last night, and the announcers mentioned it 1,000 times, but Carmelo asked to guard LeBron the last 7 minutes. Amari comes over and makes the big block.
Yes.
To play the game. Those are plays that tell me these guys are like, all right, we're going to figure this out. Maybe this isn't totally my game, but I'm committed to this. And if I'm a Knicks fan, that would have excited me more than anything.
Oh, yeah, of course. The block?
And he's, never been Bill Russell.
No, we'll see.
Could you talk the Knicks fans off the ledge with Mozgov?
Oh, I liked Mozgov.
You did? Oh, you're upset they gave up Mozgov.
Oh, no, yeah, he was 7-1. And when you watched him, when they'd practice before the game, the kid can really shoot. He is totally ignorant of the NBA. And I think in a year or two, he's either going to go back to Europe or he's going to be a semi-star here.
He's got no hands, though.
No, he's not really. He's just, you expect him when he makes a shot, you expect him to go in. And he's 7-1. And we'll see.
All right, I'll bet you dinner on this one.
Okay, well.
I think he's back in Europe in 3 years, and I'm making fun of all my Knicks fan friends that they were agonizing over Mozgov. Who were the other Knicks fan celebrities at these games? Do you feel like they're coming out of the woodwork?
Well,
the team is good
I mean, the only guy who's famous that comes to most games, but no one ever knows it, is Woody Allen. He
still goes?
Oh, yeah, he was there. Yeah, he'll go to, if it's a big game, he'll go. He's got his seats, and he wears his cap. And no one knows it's Woody Allen. You never see his picture anywhere. But he's been going for, but not many. I mean, it's just catching on now.
Yeah.
I mean, there'll be more people there on this Wednesday. Let's talk Thursday. I'll tell you who's there.
And the other thing is, and the main reason why I did this Carmelo thing, I don't know if it's going to win you the title.
Oh, no, I don't think it is.
But I think when you've suffered for 10 years with how bad that was,
yeah.
The fact that there's energy and hope, and then also, now you're one player away from, in a year and a half, now you could have 3 superstars, which is all you need. After you get the 3 superstars, you can always fill in the blanks.
The word you've said is what all my nut friends are talking about, which is hope.
Yeah.
We really have, we're not going to win anything this year, but we have hope.
And I think the Marbury trade was a bad example of this, where it was false hope, because Marbury was never really that good.
No, and he was.
And they overpaid for this guy that they thought he was good, but he wasn't the guy that they thought they were getting. But the Knicks fans, it was the same excitement that time, but then I think they slowly realized, oh yeah, this guy's not.
No, we were like 23 and 59 those years.
Well, I'll tell you one thing.
A big year would have been 33 and 49.
Do you have the NBA package?
I think so.
Oh, actually, you don't need it because you're in New York. I would start watching these Nets games because the early buzz on Darren Williams on this Nets team. They might have made a mistake. I think he's out of there in a year and a half. It's a bad team, and I don't think he wants to be there. And I think he's looking at that Knicks situation.
Well, it's interesting because at one time several years ago, I thought maybe I should get Nets seats, and I went out there, and it was in the older arena. It's a terrible place to play.
Yeah. They
lie about the attendance. Maybe they'll get 10,000 or 8,000 and not 19. And it's not a very good. They've been so bad since they lost Jason Kidd, and I don't know what's going to happen. If I was that kid, I'm not sure I want to go to Brooklyn.
Well, and also, nobody talks about, this Brooklyn thing sounds awesome on paper, but to me, it's an insult to the Knicks' foothold that they have on that city. I just don't see a Brooklyn team stealing Knicks fans. Knicks fans you're talking generations.
Oh yeah,
the Knicks
it's like
fans.
your father.
Yeah, it would be like
if there was a team 20 miles out of Boston, he's not going to give up the Celtics.
No, I don't. I mean, yeah, I get like maybe you go after younger people, things like that, but I just think the foothold is just too strong. I'm sure the stadium's going to be great. I'm sure their fans will maybe come. I don't know, but I don't think it's the slam dunk that everybody seems
I don't
to
either.
think it is.
I don't either. I'm not remotely intrigued by that.
So you're at Orlando.
Yes.
On
Tomorrow
Tuesday.
night we're in Orlando, and then
Tomorrow night.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting.
The next great home game, March 21st.
No, that's the Celtics.
Home for the Celtics.
Absolutely.
I might have to come back for that one.
That's really going to be...
Oh.
You have no idea. They were just saying, one of the papers was saying that no one knows how much the StubHub people are going to charge for the Celtics.
Oh, my God.
It's just going to be beyond belief.
And that's yet another reason why they had to do this trade. I will tell you that the Knicks now have two guys that have always killed the Celtics, Amari and Carmelo.
Oh, well, that's really interesting.
Yeah, we've always had trouble with both of those guys. So I don't know.
They're good. All right, I'm going to go.
All right, I'm happy for you.
Thank you. God bless.
Thanks for doing the podcast. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right, we go from the greatest living screenwriter to the number one movie dork that I know, and I say that in the most endearing way possible because I think there's a place in this world for people who care so passionately about movies that they can't sleep the night of the Oscars because of some of the travesties that unfolded. My friend from ESPN Films, Dan Silver, what's happening?
Hey, buddy. Thanks for having me.
You've been on the David Fincher as our best living director bandwagon for years.
Yes.
And he just directed his best movie and did not win. Is he the new Scorsese?
I really hope not, but it unfortunately looks like it's definitely going to be that way. What happened last night was... I felt like I was 16 again watching Pulp Fiction and Shawshank lose to Forrest Gump. It was just awful. My wife just laughed at me when my head slumped into my hands. I couldn't even look at the reaction shot to Fincher because I thought he was stabbing somebody. It was awful.
Well, the irony is that Fincher and Nolan were the two best directors this year. Nolan didn't get nominated, and Fincher didn't win. I like Tom Hooper. I thought King's Speech was good.
Yeah.
It was very well acted. It was worth seeing.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I'll ever watch it more than once.
It's a completely forgettable movie. In 25 years, no one is going to remember, really? That film won?
What do you think of this idea? Somebody emailed this to me. I was going to use it for a mailbag. I might double dip anyway. Somebody was saying maybe we shouldn't even decide who won the Oscar for 5 years. It should be a 5-year wait like we have with Sports Hall of Fames. And then we can properly take a step back and really reassess how the movie mattered.
I'm all for that because what it does is it helps you sort of clarify what the word best means.
Right.
Because the word best is the problem. Because you look at the films that Fincher's done in his career, and, I mean, my humble opinion is that Fight Club and The Social Network are the Graduate of my generation.
Explain that premise.
Well, The Graduate itself, if you sort of boil it down, was about a youth who became disenfranchised and lost his way and started gravitating toward material objects. And, I mean, the idea of Mrs. Robinson as an older woman was this metaphor for us trying to go home. And it was just about youth not understanding where they stood in that culture. And he started it with Fight Club with the idea of, we'll call him X because you never know what Ed Norton's name actually is.
Yep.
And the logical follow-up to that was, at least in this modern age in the web world, the idea of this Mark Zuckerberg-type character. And they so complement each other that if you want to say best, people are going to be talking about these movies for a long time.
I would hope.
I think Spielberg last night was alluding to it. I think he was saying, look, Raging Bull lost to Ordinary People. A fine movie, but Raging Bull is one of the greatest American movies ever made. And guess what? We're talking about that more than we're talking about Timothy Hutton on a crusty old couch.
Here's Fincher's IMDb. So he starts out with the third Alien movie in 92.
Right.
Goes to 7 in 95. The Game in 97, which is, first of all, that 96 to 98 movie boom of rewatchable movies is one of the all-time great eras.
Well, just look at 99.
I'm sorry, 99. 96 to 99.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. That's when all the auteurs started showing up. Spike Jonze, David O. Russell, who was nominated last night. And they were all personal movies. Just in 99 alone, there was The Matrix, Fight Club, Blair Witch, Run Lola Run, American Beauty, Magnolia. It was like, hey, I've got something to say. I'm going to make a movie.
Yeah. And The Game is amazingly rewatchable. I don't know. There must have been a glut of weird movies like that because it didn't do as well as it should. And it's a good Michael Douglas movie. It's a really good Sean Penn movie, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
I watch it every time it's on. I like The Game.
That movie is amazing. And what's cool about that movie is if you go back, I think, and you can hold me to this, that Michael Douglas is absolutely in every single frame of that movie.
Ooh.
I think
interesting
that every single scene, almost every single shot, I mean, that's investment by an actor. He's like, I'm just going to get thrown into this river in a cab.
So then he had Panic Room in 2002, which, although it didn't do as well as it should have, and I'm not really sure why he made it, when you watch that movie, it's like about as well done as you could have ever done for a relatively crappy idea.
Absolutely, but I actually have a theory on Panic Room.
Okay, what is it?
I think Panic Room was his warm-up for Zodiac, which was his next movie. It was almost like, because he is a commercial music video director,
yeah,
and he would go back and he would sort of hone his craft in those mediums, and he would use those skills for his next movies. I think that someone was like, we want you to make another movie. He's like, well, I want to use a digital camera and shoot completely in the dark, or I want to do a lot of CG and have shots of going through the handles of coffee mugs. And then all of a sudden he makes Zodiac and he employs all of it, and it's a masterpiece.
Zodiac, an incredibly well-done movie. Bad casting. Jake Gyllenhaal. Just never bought him in that role. I don't really like Jake Gyllenhaal that much. I thought his best movie was Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah, probably.
But I don't know who would have been better in that role, but we could probably come up with 10 guys right now. But I just didn't like him.
Yeah, but that was on the Jake Gyllenhaal wave. I mean,
yeah, but that'll happen sometimes when that wave happens, and then somebody will get a movie that they weren't quite qualified to get, and they end up being the worst thing in the movie. He's basically the Chris Bosh of that movie.
Easily. I mean, Anthony Edwards was better than him in that movie. And this is no knock on Anthony Edwards. I think you and I share a fondness for Miracle Mile, but
yes,
fantastic movie. But
so then he's got Benjamin Button.
Yep.
Which
that's the only one I don't feel good about.
Yeah, but you can at least say that it was memorable.
Absolutely memorable.
I would never watch it again, and I think they should release a DVD where all of the Cate Blanchett scenes were edited out when she's in the hospital bed. Old Cate Blanchett. They just get rid of all those scenes. It's actually maybe not a bad movie.
Yeah, I would have stuck with the Jared Harris stuff of him as like some sort of a faux sea pirate. That's the movie I would have
just
liked.
Just stuck there. And then Social Network. The point is, if you go from 92 to now, not one stinker.
Absolutely. And the only other guy I could say that about is the guy you mentioned, which is Nolan. They're true artists working in a studio system. They've somehow figured out a way to make movies that they care about and the way that they want, and the studio's like, great. I mean, Nolan on a much larger scale, and he's making a ton more money, but Fincher makes really personal movies, and we tend to go see them, and The Social Network is easily his masterpiece.
Let's go look at Scorsese.
Alrighty.
All right, we'll start with Mean Streets in 73.
Very personal movie.
Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. Did well.
Yep.
Taxi Driver, a classic.
Yep.
New York, New York.
You're allowed to do that every once in a while.
But the point is, that's a pretty big miss.
It is.
When you compare him to Fincher.
It is a big miss, but what's next after New York, New York?
So Last Waltz, documentary. Yep. American Boy, a profile of Stephen Prince. I don't even remember that.
He does a lot of hidden docs.
Raging Bull.
Well, see, that's where it comes in. New York, New York, I think he was honing his skills for Raging Bull.
King of Comedy.
Great movie.
Underrated.
Easily underrated.
And then a 3-year break, and then After Hours, forgettable.
But it has its moments.
Goes to Color of Money.
Fantastic, Paul Newman, amazing.
Last Temptation of Christ.
Good movie, Harvey Keitel. Completely miscast, but good for humor.
Then has a nice run here with Goodfellas, Cape Fear, and Age of Innocence. But anyway, the point is Fincher's batting average has to rank historically among anybody.
Absolutely.
I think.
Has to. And if you're starting to compare him to someone like Martin Scorsese, I mean, the guy who ushered in the 70s revolution, that's a huge compliment.
So who do you, best American directors right now? Fincher and Nolan. Who's third?
Fincher, Nolan. I'm a big fan of Spike Jonze. I think he makes very personal movies. David O. Russell, The Fighter was fine, but I think you have to look at his earlier works. I think Three Kings is a really underrated movie. I think when Steven Soderbergh gets his hand on the right material, I mean, you look at Out of Sight and you look at The Limey, I think he has a lot of good things to say.
Would you put Soderbergh in there?
Occasionally. It really depends on the movie. This guy makes strange movies sometimes that really don't resonate. That one with the last one he did with Sasha Grey was not that great, but
he does the one real movie, and then he does his one project movie.
Yeah, I mean, he had to make Aaron Brockovich in order to make Traffic.
Right.
So,
but Traffic was a good movie, though.
Traffic was a great movie.
But he did that. What was that Julia Roberts one when?
Aaron Brockovich.
No. The weird one with Blair Underwood in it.
Oh, Full Frontal.
Yeah, he'll make a few of those.
Yeah, our boy Duchovny was in that.
That's right. I forgot that. That was a weird movie.
It was a very weird.
I'm not sure I like Full Frontal.
You know what? It's something you watch on a plane and you just sort of need to hide the screen from people.
Yeah, I hate those.
Yeah,
the person next to you is starting to get more and more fearful that something horrible is going to happen.
Yeah, I by accidentally did that with Silence of the Lambs once. I don't even know why I would do that. Watch it on a plane in front of kids, but once Buffalo
in front of kids.
It was a really bad idea. I mean, once Buffalo Bill came up, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should turn this off.
Would you throw Jason Reitman in there?
I would.
I'm going to discount myself.
Well, I do like Jason Reitman. I think he's a really, really talented director. I just need to see a little bit more out of him.
Okay, because he's only made 4 movies.
Yeah, and he was a shorts director first, and his shorts were really good. Thank You for Smoking was a great first movie. I was crazy about Juno. I saw the first screening at the Toronto Film Festival and just started emailing people about how good it was. I liked Up in the Air. I thought it showed growth as a director, a visualist, but not necessarily as a storyteller. He'll get there. He's really good.
Okay, so remember my idea about the 5-year waiting list?
Yes.
Here are the 78th Annual Academy Awards. Best Picture. Crash was the winner. The other 4 were Brokeback Mountain, Capote, Good Night and Good Luck, and Munich. I think if they do that again with the waiting period, there is a 100% chance that Brokeback Mountain wins.
Probably.
I'm going to say 100% chance.
Probably that, or, I mean, the other... I'm a huge fan of Good Night and Good Luck, but it probably wouldn't win. That's sort of my movie. But the only other one that could get in there was Munich. It's got the...
Well, that's why you're... Well, give me your title, because our friend Dave Jacoby is the czar of reality. So what title do you want? Is dork like too? Like, do you want movie nerd?
No, I will. You can drizzle dork over me like syrup on hot pancakes.
Okay,
I love it.
Okay, good. All right. So, best director, Ang Lee won for Brokeback Mountain. I think that one holds.
Yeah, sure.
Now here's where it gets interesting with the 5-year waiting period. Best actor, Hoffman won for Capote.
Yep.
But you also had Heath Ledger here in Brokeback Mountain, Phoenix for Walk the Line, Terrence Howard for Hustle and Flow, and David Strathairn for... How do you say his last name? I always forget.
Strathairn,
whatever. For Good Night and Good Luck. I think if they do that over again, I'm not sure Hoffman pulls it out.
I don't know. He was like the hip guy at that point. I mean, you don't want to...
I know, but that goes back to our wave thing. I think with the 5-year waiting period, he's not the hip guy anymore, and people look at that.
Oh, and you just...
Heath Ledger performance, he's dead. That one might flip. This Best Actress category is one of the worst ever. I forgot that Reese Witherspoon won the Oscar for that movie.
I'm not a big fan of James Mangold, period, as a writer and director, and I thought Walk the Line was entirely unwatchable.
I thought it was just me.
Oh, I can't.
I watched
stand
it. I was
that
like,
movie.
all right, it's Johnny Cash.
The John C. Reilly version was better.
It was a really, really weak year for movies.
Yeah.
In general. So she beat out Judi Dench, Felicity Huffman, Keira Knightley, and Charlize Theron. Best supporting actor, George Clooney went for Syriana.
Oh, that was a throwaway. I mean, you weren't going to give him anything else.
I have to say, if I'm looking, Matt Dillon for Crash, Giamatti for Cinderella Man, Gyllenhaal for Brokeback Mountain, and William Hurt for History of Violence.
Oh, now that was the best movie of that year, History of Violence.
Yeah, and you look at this, and then it's like, how does Viggo not get nominated for Best Actor? Back 5 years later.
History of Violence is a fantastic movie, and
how does History of Violence not get Best Picture? Nomination, at least.
Well, look at what they went for. They went for the ensemble with Crash. They went for Brokeback Mountain, which should have been there. They went for Munich. Listen,
who is ever going to watch Munich again?
I did, but it was a bad decision. It was boring, and
Munich was excruciating.
I think I watched it again before the most recent, like, Casino Royale came out, because I knew Daniel Craig was in it, and I was just like, why am I doing this to myself?
That was one of those movies that the subject matter was so deep and so personal that people they don't almost want to admit that it wasn't really that entertaining or well done of a movie compared to some of the other stuff he's done.
Yeah, well, you know what? If you look at this list from that year, even the films that were nominated, actors and subcategories, there were a lot of movies that were made to win awards. There weren't a lot of good movies made.
Right.
Walk the Line and Cinderella Man is the biggest one of them all. That movie was made for no other reason than to be nominated for something.
And Russell Crowe didn't even get nominated.
Yeah, well, because him and Reese Witherspoon, what did it take place during the Depression? Those are like the best-looking people in the Depression I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's true. They needed like some cold sores or something. Best supporting actress, I think if that one happens over again, I think Michelle Williams wins for Brokeback.
Well, she should have won last night.
For Best Actress, I agree.
Blue Valentine is an amazing movie, and Natalie Portman's fine. I'm a huge dissenter of The Black Swan. I think it is a movie everybody's seen a million times before, especially Fight Club. And then Darren Aronofsky was like, how do I end it? Oh, how did my last movie end? The Wrestler. I'm just going to end it like that.
There did seem a little bit of a career achievement for Portman, because we've loved her going back to The Professional and obviously Beautiful Girls.
Yeah, well, Beautiful
Girls. People
Girls.
just like to see. I think people just wanted the Oscar speech. They feel invested with her. It's like having a baseball card that appreciated for 20 years, and now it's like, oh, look at my baseball card. It's worth $1,000.
Yeah, and she's sitting there going, this washes away all of the prequels to Star Wars.
Best documentary that year. March of the Penguins won.
This is a really bad year.
Enron, Smartest Guys in the Room, and Murderball were both nominated but did not win.
And
there's a good example of the 5-year wait.
And Street Fight, the one about Cory Booker. That's a great movie.
That's a good example of the 5-year wait might have helped. So we've just basically said that if you had the 5-year wait, every major thing would have been different.
Yeah.
Except for Best Director. That was the only one they got right.
I would say that's absolutely... Oh, well, I'm okay with Rachel Weisz as Best Supporting Actress. Constant Gardener was a good movie.
Is that just because she's in the Mount Rushmore of good-looking Jewish women?
It very well could be. Right now, Alison Brie sort of sitting at the top.
Who's the top 4 for you right now, just out of curiosity?
Alison Brie, for sure.
Do you count Johansson? You have to, right?
I would, but see, we've never gone into this. I have very strange taste in women. For me, they have to be funny.
Ooh.
I'm very attracted to funny women because I feel like they sit in their skin better. So, again, not to go back to it, Alison Brie from Community right now is...
She's your number one, okay.
And then, I don't even know. Natalie Portman used to be on there, but we're talking back during Beautiful Girls. But... Let's remember, we're the same age.
Right.
This isn't like...
So you had a crush on her. Yeah, I got it.
We're the same age here. So
if I had said that would have been a lot more creepy.
Well, you want creepy? All I kept thinking during the Kirk Douglas thing last night was, I really hope he doesn't give this award to a 13-year-old.
Yeah, that would have been.
Because that would have been bad. By the way, the other thing that you want to kick out of that 78th Academy Awards was the host. It really is not a good thing for Jon Stewart to look back on.
Yeah, you know, all right, well, let's talk about the host quickly, because I like the idea of having two actors do it. I think that the mistake they made, I think Hathaway would have been fine. Mm-hmm. But then to put her with Franco and then do the "we're young, we're gonna," all of a sudden it felt like the Video Music Awards on MTV.
Yeah, she tried. Listen, you got to give her a lot of credit. She tried really hard, but they got two people that really couldn't think on their feet.
Right. That
really needed scripts. And I just can't deal with a host who's literally going to cheer and say yay and clap.
Yeah, that was bad.
I
think it was like she was on a bad date.
Yeah.
And Franco was just giving her nothing. Oh. And I think she felt like she had to go overboard to try to carry the energy.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. If you have her host that show with Tom Hanks, I think it's a win.
I'll give you one more.
I think she brings it down.
I love Tom Hanks. Well, I was talking to someone this week, and first of all, Tom Hanks needs to go back and do a comedy. He's not opening movies the way that he used to, and he's still entirely likable. We need like a Splash or a Bachelor Party from him really, really soon.
When's the last comedy he did? I'm going to have to look this up as you're talking.
I can't even think off the top of my head. The only one that my mind goes to is League of Their Own, and he was...
It was 20 years ago.
I know. It's everything from then on. I can't even think of the last time he was funny. The guy's a really talented dude, but here's your host. And I think our buddy Connor said this to me on the phone this morning, and it's the most obvious choice.
Yeah.
You just give all the money you can to Justin Timberlake.
Ooh.
And you're done. He'll be Bob Hope for 18 years. It doesn't matter. It's like SNL should just give him a contract. Just give him whatever he wants. I'll watch him. I'm good.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I can't.
I thought you were going to say Clooney.
See, I think you do need a song and dance man.
Charlie Wilson's War, 2007. Kind of, sort of a comedy?
Yeah.
Maybe, a little bit?
Yeah, but our Capote dude, Phil Hoffman, was funnier in that movie.
73rd Academy Awards, by the way. Going back 10 years.
Okay.
Russell Crowe wins for Gladiator.
Okay.
I think if you do that over again, my vote goes to Hanks and Castaway, which I continue to think is the most underrated movie of the last 11 years.
See, this is where you and I differ. I can't.
He's by himself on an island for 2 hours.
Well, and this is coming from the guy, and tell me if I'm wrong, but you did not like 127 Hours.
I just feel like movies should be entertaining.
I thought it was entertaining.
Well, it's just brutal, because you know the arm scenes come in, and it's like... Put it this way, I will never watch that movie again.
I actually am really looking forward to watching it again. I haven't yet. I'm waiting for like the Blu-ray because I want to see him cut his arm off in HD.
Would you put that in the top 5 movies where somebody had to cut off his own arm to survive? Because I think at least it's there.
It's there, but I would go even further and just put it in arm decapitation movies. But I've always been partial to Commando. That's like my favorite arm getting chopped off scene ever.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Russell, or Gladiator, and then the Russell Crowe thing. How do we feel about Russell Crowe as the best actor of 2000?
Well, we're talking about Javier Bardem, and Ed Harris, and Jeffrey Rush. Well,
and Tom Hanks.
And
my guy Tom Hanks. He's on an island talking to a volleyball. Name me 3 actors who pull off that movie. I always feel like degree of difficulty should matter more than any other quality for an Oscar performance. Like, I look at Social Network and Fincher, and it's like, how many directors could have pulled off that movie? Give me the list.
All right. I'll give you this. There's a high degree of difficulty in that movie. I think the way that it was executed, I think it was more raw. That movie lost me the minute he delivered that package at the end. I mean, that was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
You think he would have opened the package before trying to kill himself? It is a flaw. I've thought about that.
That bothers me. The Helen Hunt subplot bothers me.
That's the only time she's ever been attractive in a movie.
Yeah, you know what? I'll give you that.
She's in the rain. She's got the white T-shirt on. She's in the car. It's like, let's
Wait, are you thinking of Twister?
No, that was the era when to sex up Helen Hunt, every movie she was in, she got rained on with a wet T-shirt.
And not just
for like five straight movies. Yeah, it didn't totally work.
A white tank top.
Yeah, white tank top didn't totally work.
Whatever happened to her, man?
she's the Deborah Winger of this generation.
Yeah, she wins for as good as it gets, and then she goes away.
Joe Mead.
Yes.
This podcast is going. Dan Silver, the rookie, he's kind of brought it to the table. I feel like.
Yeah, he's carrying it.
I'm doing it.
Wow.
This is a huge responsibility here.
That hurts, carrying it. So, the host, Hanks with Hathaway, I think would have worked. I think Clooney with Hathaway would have worked. I even think Affleck could have pulled it off. They never would have given it to him. But he has that kind of sense of humor. But Franco, I don't know why I didn't see this coming, but it became pretty clear. Like, you have to be able to think on your feet.
Yeah.
You just have to.
I agree. And I'm actually a fan of James Franco, but I think when you start reading articles beforehand of the guy, he only was it rehearsed on the weekends because he was in class during the week, or I mean, you just couldn't use him. You dress him up in drag because there wasn't a lot of other stuff for him to do. But my theory on Franco last night was the second that I saw him walk out for the intro with his iPhone in his hand, videotaping the proceedings, I think he just viewed it as an entire practical joke. He was like, "This is cool. They're going to let me do it, and I'm just going to sort of roll with it." My wife kept saying that he looks like he's telling a joke in his head every couple minutes.
Yeah, that's not what you want for the host.
No, I completely agree with that.
What's weird is that there isn't the Steve Martin or Billy Crystal for this generation.
Well, like Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, it would take it into another direction. I love that idea. You know, Connor's stolen so many ideas from me over the years that I'm going to claim that was my idea, and I thought of it last night at like 6 o'clock.
Well, now I'm actually really upset that I didn't take credit for it myself.
You should have. He cherry picks ideas like nobody's business. All right, so quickly, let's go over the categories last night.
Yeah.
We got to go. So, best movie?
Well, we've gone over this. The fact that I'm still...
You were happy with King's Speech or no? You
No.
felt like Social Network should have won?
It absolutely 100% Social Network should have won. Best actor,
The thing is, I can't kill the King's Speech one because I understand why it won, and it's the type of movie that's usually going to win. So I could see that one coming. I thought Fincher's Best Director was going to be the reward or the carrot for the fact that they're going to screw him over on Best Picture.
Bill, let's do your 5 years later again. There's
no question.
No question. I mean, Inception is better. Toy Story 3 is better.
Well, that was my next question. Why wasn't Toy Story the best movie of the year? Toy Story 3.
Well, if you go back to the Oscars you were just talking about with Gladiator, I felt they gave it to Gladiator because it was Ridley Scott. It was the highest grossing movie, or one of them from that year. By that argument, Toy Story 3 should have been. But
name me, first of all, what is the highest degree of difficulty for a movie? I would argue that it's making a movie that appeals to any person of any age who walks out of the theater blown away.
Yeah.
And I think Toy Story 3 qualifies for that. I would argue, like, since E.T., we haven't had a movie that I could have seen with my 90-year-old grandfather. I don't have any grandparents, they're all dead. But my 90-year-old grandfather or my 3-year-old son and 5.5-year-old daughter or my wife or my dad, that should count.
Absolutely, it should count. It's something... And I'm glad that a new Muppets movie is coming because that's been my theory forever. The hardest thing to do is make a kids movie where it's just not an extra ticket for the adult. Right. The Muppets were and are Monty Python for a younger generation to the point where adults can enjoy it, but the kids are watching puppets. And to that point, Toy Story 3 could have been the best movie of the year.
Best actor?
Colin Firth was fine.
He was great.
He was really good. I'm okay with that. I would have given it to Franco, but that's just me.
Really?
Yeah. By
my Castaway. So you subscribe to my Castaway theory?
I do, and I wish Castaway would have been done like 127 hours, which was a little bit more raw and a little bit more human. I'm not a Wilson fan.
You just movie dorked me. Best actress?
The person who everybody expected to win won. I would have given.
So you wanted Michelle Williams?
Absolutely, and that was the biggest leave out of the actor, which was Ryan Gosling.
Supporting actor?
Absolutely.
We're happy with Bale?
He was awesome.
Supporting actress, I had a lot of issues with.
Tell me why.
I just didn't think she was that good. I thought she was a little over the top. I thought she hammed it up.
So who would you have given it to?
I don't know. It was a weak category.
It was. And
I might have just rolled it over to the next year.
Well, you know what you're missing from this? This
What?
is notoriously a category where you nominate people from comedies. And I think they left people out. I mean,
Like
Marissa Tomei won for My Cousin Vinny here.
Right.
So I would have, trying to think back to comedy as I can't, but I would have found some great female performances in comedies and put them in there.
Was any supporting actress better than Rooney Mara was in the first scene of Social Network?
No, great call. That's fantastic.
Why couldn't she have won?
I have no idea.
Maybe she wasn't in it enough.
You know what? Yeah, but you want to talk about a scene that completely sets a tone for an entire movie?
It was one of the best first scenes I've ever seen in a movie, and in watching it, I felt like this girl is a star.
Yeah.
And good things are going to happen for her.
She's
and I felt the same way about Winter's Bone, the girl in that, Jennifer Lawrence. I mean, she shouldn't have won, but that was a movie that I felt like a little bit like Scarlett Johansson with the Bill Murray movie, where it's like, all right, we're going to be hearing from this girl for the next 20 years, unless she starts dating Charlie Sheen.
Well, here's the difference. Rooney Mara goes off and makes The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo with Fincher, and Jennifer Lawrence goes off and makes X-Men Origins. So we'll see. We'll see where that goes.
My wife noticed this. She even wore the Johansson dress from 2006.
Oh, see, that's where Oscar goes awry. I have no idea, but if that's the case, then sure, she looked awesome.
And then Best Documentary. I don't think anybody was happy with that choice.
That was the worst choice. The worst choice of the night, other than Fincher. That movie is completely incomplete.
Who would you have given it to?
Exit to the Gift Shop for sure, and not because of all the Bainsky stuff, but it's a really interesting movie. I don't know how you make a movie on the financial crisis now.
Right.
It's still going on. You make a nice 45, 50 minutes, and then how do I end it?
Right.
Well, I don't.
Well, we're going to end this podcast. Dan Silver, congrats on your rookie debut on the BS Report.
Appreciate it, man.
We'll think of a title for you, but right now we're going for, maybe we'll call you the Ultimate Movie Dork.
Oh, wow.
Something.
That's awesome.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, man.
So I get to sign off. Whoa!
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Pod Center at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.